And I'll walk in and say, "Hi, Karla." And this is kind of funny, isn't it? But we're doing this as the first live recording for the Jewish Radio Hour, the Jewish Post and News, and a variety of other media.
Okay.
Anyway, what I wanted to do was start asking you about how did you first get the idea for Music and Mavens?
Well, the campus had opened, I think it was 1997 or 1998.
97.
Was
Yeah.
it 97? Okay. So the campus had just opened, and a lot of people were telling me that they would like something to be going on in the afternoon at the Rady Jewish Community Center other than fitness activities. And I had just finished working with a number of different arts and cultural organizations, and I thought, well, perhaps it would be a great idea to launch something that would be a high caliber music series with a component of a speaker component. And so I approached the then executive director of the Rady Jewish Community Center about this project, and I was given the go-ahead, and this is the 16th year of the Rady JCC Music and Mavens series.
Yeah, before we talk more about Music and Mavens, I should ask you, what was your background that led you to doing this?
Okay, well, I've worked in the arts forever. I started out years ago in the performing arts aspect, that I was involved in theater and dance and music, and I traveled on the road when I was quite a bit younger with a group called Up With People.
Oh.
So
Yeah, we've done stories about you. I should have read that before. I didn't do my research. Yeah.
So so I spent quite a while singing, dancing, emceeing, performing, setting up striking shows all over the United States, Canada, Europe, and so that was my background. And then I got into more of the producing aspects, and I have worked with a number of different arts groups in Winnipeg. I'd worked at Manitoba Theatre Centre, the Winnipeg Singers, Prairie Theatre Exchange, and in amongst that had several children. So I was looking to do something where I was a little bit more in control of my own time. And we had just moved into Tuxedo, and the Asper Jewish Community Campus had just opened up. And so it seemed like a nice fit for me to transition into something where, to be honest, I began Music and Mavens with a little bit of a selfish perspective. I wanted to be home in time for my children when they came home from school. So I really, instead of working in the evenings at all the concerts and theaters that I had been working at in the past, I wanted something where I could work in the daytime and come home for 4 o'clock and be home for my children. So I began Music and Mavens really so it would coalesce with my own individual schedule, and it really took off because the idea was that people could be able to attend a concert or a lecture during the daytime and get home before dark.
Yeah.
So I realized that there were a lot of other people that wanted that schedule and were happy to be able to go somewhere in the middle of a cold winter afternoon, park easily at the Rady Jewish Community Center, and be able to get home before dark.
I should ask you, a maven, that's a male raven, isn't it?
A maven, Bernie, is anybody who knows a lot about something.
Yes.
Actually, my
It's-
audience
it's-
are
it's-
mavens.
It's Yiddish word.
It is Yiddish. It is Yiddish, and it
because
actually comes originally from the Hebrew lehavim, to understand.
Oh, mavin.
Mavim. yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Well, this is a bilingual program, I think. Might be trilingual.
Well, Music and Mavens.
Is it you came up with the name, I assume?
Well, actually, I have to give credit where credit is due. The first year when I began Music and Mavens, I worked with Harry Strub, who is the artistic director of the Virtuosi Concert Series.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I co-founded the Music and Mavens at the Rady Jewish Community Center. So we started off working together, and somebody on his board at the time came up with the name Music and Mavens. So it stuck, actually. It was sort of thrown out to me in one of our, I don't know, coffee sit-downs, Harry and I said, I really like that name. And so it stuck. And over the years, it just has grown. And since then, Harry was involved at the beginning, and since then, you know, I still consult with Harry, and we're very good friends, but the program has really become solely a Rady Jewish Community Center program.
So let's talk about some of the programs you've had. Do you have any idea how many programs you've actually put on? It must be several hundreds by now.
Okay, well, I'm entering my 16th year, and I run approximately 20 events per season. So
that's
16 times
300,
20.
yeah, 300 already. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes there's more, sometimes it's been 18, but roughly approximately 20 events a season.
Mhm.
And I try to run it from January, February, and March. Sometimes I'll start later in January, sometimes earlier in January. I always finish before Pesach, because I just find that to come back after Pesach, everybody's kind of lost their oomph. And I really gear the programs for people who do not have the opportunity to get out of Winnipeg in the winter, are looking for something culturally stimulating to do during the daytime. There are a multitude of events going on in the evenings in Winnipeg. We've got such a culturally rich city, but in the daytime it's a little harder to find events that are really of a high caliber without having to drive downtown and that give you free parking. So there's a lot of benefits that come with the location, the venue, the presenting organization of the Rady Jewish Community Center.
What about the choice of people who participate? It's such an eclectic mix. Do you come up with the names yourself, or are they suggested to you?
I have to admit that it is a one-man operation. Now, I shouldn't say a one-man operation, because the Rady Jewish Community Center is a huge support, and as far as the administrative elements, I could not function without all the wonderful people at the Rady Center who make it happen. But as far as the artistic selection process, I have musicians who send me CDs all year long. And when I go out to different musical events, I'm always scouting, I guess, looking to see if there's something I can put together. And my mandate is to expose the wonderful Winnipeg musicians to our audiences. I feel proud that a lot of times people will have heard a musician for the first time at Music and Mavens and then say, well, I heard them soloing with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra after that, but I first was exposed to them at Music and Mavens. So I do try to find the rising stars in the community and give them exposure to our audiences.
But when you say people send you CDs, is it because your name has spread because of this?
I think so, yes, that I've had so many people presented on Music and Mavens and coordinated so many events with local musicians that I have a very good feel for the local.
Off the top, are there
musicians.
any who have gone on to real stardom that you can think of?
Well, there are some that are stars before they even come to me, so I do present performances with members of the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra and very high caliber professional musicians. So that would be hard to say that whether there are some that have their first presentation at Music Mavens or not. But yes, I can think of a few in my head. That
Are there any who have gone on the way down, and this is really reaching bottom for them? No, I'm just kidding.
No, there are none that have gone on the way down. But you know, there are a number that I try to vary. I try to select those that are known names, people who are musicians with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, or people who are very accomplished jazz musicians.
What about speakers, though?
Speakers, I usually select from University of Winnipeg or University of Manitoba professors, so that there would be an element of education.
And snob appeal.
Well, it's kind of like an adult education.
What about postmen? Or former postmen? Yeah.
Yes, Bernie, you have spoken on Music.
That's
and
right, I
Mavens.
did, about the Crocus Fund.
That's right,
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
forgot,
Not
yeah.
as a postman, but as, yes, you know, I usually what I do is I come up with a topic that I think that people would feel interested in hearing more about, and then I approach the person that I think is the most knowledgeable in that area, and sometimes a little bit controversial. and I ask them to speak on music and Mavens, and I usually try to get a topic that will appeal to lay people, so that you don't have to have a prior background in that particular topic to choose to attend the event, and a topic that will get people to have some discussion and
What
some
about
debate.
the Jewish element? There's some of it, it seems to be kind of arbitrary. Do you
It is
have
arbitrary,
any?
yes.
It's not quite-
I try to present Music and Mavens as a series with enough diversity that it can appeal to all. So I'm not selecting specifically Jewish musicians or Jewish speakers or Jewish topics for that aspect. I'm selecting topics, musicians that are of a high caliber that will appeal to all people. And I would say that a lot of the people that do attend Music and Mavens are not members of the Rady Jewish Community Center, but select Music and Mavens as an event that they would like to attend. I do try to give a little bit of a Jewish slant. Often when I'm choosing musicians, I might say, could you put together a program of Jewish composers of this time period? So I will throw that in, but it's not a Jewish program per se. The variety of music, I mean, for example, this year I opened the series with Métis fiddlers, and I go on
The
to-
Gaudry Boys.
The Gaudry Boys, very good, you've done your research.
Yes.
And they're a really interesting group of family, of brothers, who are from Saint Laurent, Manitoba, so they're outside of Winnipeg. And they've performed at they performed in Washington DC at the.
And they'll be on January 13th at 2
They're
p.m.
on
Oh, no,
January 14th.
14th.
Yes, the opening day of Music and Mavens is January 14th at 2 o'clock p.m. at the Rady JCC.
In the Bernie Theatre.
In the Bernie Theatre. All the concerts take place in the Bernie. The speakers I tend to do in a smaller, more intimate space because I like to serve coffee and tea and cookies during the talk, so that I think it's a little bit more enticing for dialogue when you're not up on a podium, that you can actually be seated and around a round table, and it encourages discussion a little bit more when there's that informal environment. The concerts all take place in the Bernie Theatre.
Let's just switch gears for a moment. You're still president of the Jewish National Fund. Is it what, Manitoba, Saskatchewan region? Is that it?
Yes,
or-
I am, Bernie.
Okay. So I know you wear many hats, Karla. I also know that this past summer, were you still the host at the Shalom Square? Or you weren't?
Yes, I did. I did MC for Folklorama.
How many years have you been doing that?
Well, they keep on asking me. I think that this might be my 6th year, 5 or 6 years anyhow. I started actually because my children were ambassadors, and I felt that it would be nice, since they were involved in the Folklorama Pavilion, to also be present. So first one son was an ambassador for Folklorama, and then another son was an ambassador for Folklorama. So I began that way when I had been asked to MC, and then after the children stopped being as involved, I was continuing to be asked, and I enjoy it. It's lots of fun, and you get a really diverse audience out there, so I'm able to have a lot of fun on the stage with the audience.
Okay, one final question. Your name is Karla Berbrayer. Wouldn't it be catchier if it were Karla Kraut?
No, I'm the only Berbrayer in the province of Manitoba, Bernie.
Okay.
So you learn my name once and you don't forget it.
Okay.
But yes, all of my children and my husband are Krauts.
Yes. Okay. All right, that's it.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks.